Hi everyone, it's Sheena here. Today I wanted to do a video regarding theater, and if I don't ramble on for too long, maybe I can even give some theater book recommendations. I've mentioned before that one of the things I do is that I work as a freelance stage manager for different theater companies. I think in another video I will probably explain more about what my role is as a stage manager and how I've kind of gotten to where I am, and how you know, if you're interested in theater, what you could do. That'll be saved for another day. Today I actually want to talk a little bit about a show that I'm working on. It's actually my first New York show. Before this I used to live in Chicago and I was doing theater all the time, but this is my first show in New York, so I'm really excited for billions of reasons. Because it's New York, and it was on my list of things to do this year, and I'm excited because I love theater, I love art, I could ramble on. The show I'm working on, it's called Empress of China, and it had its world premiere in Hong Kong, and now it's premiering in New York. It's not like it's not on Broadway. That has its place, but that's not really the genre that I work in, although I will go see shows on Broadway. And one of the reasons I decided to do this show, not only because it would be my first show in New York, was because it is a bilingual play. And I've never worked on a bilingual play before. I like doing new things, I don't always want to do, work on your typical 2.5-hour show, or, some Shakespeare or some modern day love story tell, even though they have their places. I like doing different things. I once worked on a show where the set was comprised of 600 pounds of dirt, sand, and peat moss. I became an expert at dirt. It was actually one of the reasons I shaved my locks off, because I just couldn't get my hair clean after that show. But point is, I like stretching myself and trying new things. And I have never worked on a bilingual show before. When I was interviewing for the part, the job description said that if you spoke another language, that was actually a plus. And I do not speak Mandarin or Cantonese, so I went into it with some hesitancy, but the director was like, "You'll be fine, we'll make it work." And so far it's been great. I think what I want to talk about today is this whole bilingual thing. I think there are many reasons that every person should speak multiple languages. I don't really, I studied French and Spanish, but I shouldn't even say that out loud because I couldn't do it justice. When I've traveled, I found that most people speak many languages, and that opens up so many doors for you, being able to communicate with people. But some of the highlights about this that I like. So I wish that I spoke another language, and it's a goal of mine. I will get there, because if you're an actor, and I mean this applies all across the board, but if you're an actor, not only do you get to audition for shows in English, it opens up so many other possibilities for you. Like, you can, if you spoke Mandarin, you could audition for this show too. And there's this one guy in the show, he's bilingual, he's American. And when I was just in the audition with him, I was just blown away, just for the simple fact that he could do his monologue in another language. It's just cool to see. And then, say you're an actor and you're traveling, say you go to Italy for the summer, you can audition for shows in Italian, and I just think that gives you so much more that you could do, being able to speak the language. So I really need to get on it, because I want to speak, I want to take up French again, and Spanish, and Italian, and there's some others too, but those are the 3 main ones I want to learn. Another thing that stood out, I remember I went to one of our first production meetings, and it was mainly, like, most of the production team is of some Asian descent, although I think most of it is Chinese. And there were a few Americans there, but so 99% of the production meeting was in Mandarin. And I'm sitting there like, okay, should I be taking notes on this? Because I don't know what they're saying. And luckily I wasn't supposed to take notes in that moment. But what it did teach me was to just pay attention to the other things. When you don't understand the words, you start noticing with the language how a person speaks, their intonations, the emotions conveyed, the way they use their hands to describe it, the faces that they make, their body language, how others are responding to it. And so in the meeting, I could tell when the director was not frustrated, but if something wasn't working, or if something really excited her, or if she was trying to figure it out. You don't need to actually know the language to understand a person, and so that's cool. That's something that I pick up more and more each time. Another thing I noticed, and this is along the same lines, there was one girl who auditioned, and she only spoke Chinese, which is fine because the role she was auditioning for, that character only speaks Mandarin. So she must have asked if it was okay for her to audition in Mandarin, because then I heard the director tell everyone else, she's going to speak Mandarin for this. And she did this one monologue where, I don't know, so it was two people. I mean, it was just her, but she was acting two people. In one moment she was a character, and it was very heated and emotionally charged, and then her body language completely morphed into this smaller type of character who spoke softly and whatever else. Because I don't know what the monologue was about. I don't know if it was like a parent arguing with a little child, if it was a psycho having like a break in their mind. I have no clue. But what I do know is that she was like the most engaging person, because not only was she speaking, but she was a physical actor too. She acted the monologue from her fingertips to her toes. Kind of like, not to quote Tyra Banks, but on America's Next Top Model, where she talks about modeling from your head to your toe, it's the same with acting. I could stand here and say my monologue, but you also want to convey the story with your entire being. And when you're speaking another language, it's just as cool. Now, this isn't my first time seeing a show in another language. I did study theater for a while in London, Berlin, and Paris, and it was amazing. And the shows that were in Paris and Berlin were in French and German. So I've seen shows in other languages, and because the acting and because of the design and the direction was so amazing, I was able to follow the story. And because there's also shows where there aren't spoken lines. It's about the physicality and the movement. So that's beside the point. But it is different when you're working on a show where others mainly speak another language, because you do have to be able to understand it in order to do your job as well. So I've been learning a lot about it, and it's also interesting because half the cast, if not more, are Chinese, and then the other half is American. There are some cultural differences just amongst the people, like the cast and the production team. And it's just learning that and learning each other and how we work with each other. So it's a really interesting experience. I'm grateful for it. It's good for me, but it's also expanding my resume. It's also making me even more confident that maybe I could even work on a show that was completely in another language. I think first step would be the production team still spoke English, but the show itself, like the script, was in German. I would love to do that now. Like, now I'm going to add that on my list. And then eventually it would move to me working on a show completely in another language, where the people who I was working with spoke that language all the time, and the show involved that as well. So that is my rant. As the show progresses, I will be blogging and tweeting about it more, and I'll do some videos on it, and I'll also do some videos more specifically on my life as a theater artist and as a stage manager, and just what those different things mean, because I love it and it's great, and I want other people to know about it and stuff like that. Alright, so hopefully there's some time to talk about some of my favorite theater books. As I was going through it, I realized I was grabbing all the books, so I could talk about books forever. So I'm just going to quickly go through a couple of my favorite theater books. One of my favorites, so, you know, I say that I'm a stage manager and a creative or / theater artist because I've also acted before. I write theater, or, you know, write plays and stuff, and I've directed before. I've done a number of different roles in theater. So these books range in topics. This one, it's an old but classic. It's Anne Bogart's A Director Prepares, 7 essays on art and theater. If you're a theater artist, you should have read this book, or it should be on its way to your house because you just bought it. Yeah, you just need to read this book. It's amazing. Then there is this one I just like. I don't know, it's really, yeah, it's all marked up. This is David Mamet's Writing in Restaurants. And it's just a few of his essays too, dealing with art and theater, and he says some amazing things. Like right here, I just turned to the page and I have it all highlighted, and it says intriguing exclamation point. I have to reread that book. One of my favorite plays of all time, love it, is Eugene O'Neill's Long Day's Journey into Night. Another classic. You've probably heard of it. If you haven't, you should read this play. Yeah, just read it. Then my favorite, everyone, well, not everyone, but, you know, I guess most theater people probably have like their favorite Shakespeare play, and I have his collected works too, but here's a smaller copy for me when I need to travel with it. But my favorite Shakespeare play is Measure for Measure. I like that one. Have you? What's your favorite Shakespeare play? Then this play is really special to me because it shifted my paradigm of thinking, and that is its own video or blog post. But reading this play, it changed me. It opened my eyes, and I couldn't be the same person after reading it. And that is Tony Kushner's Angels in America, which some of you have probably heard of before. I read this one, and I also read The Laramie Project, and I knew after reading both of those that I couldn't be the same. Like, I could not. And maybe if you know these shows, you know what the topic is regarding, but I'm going to save that for another video. So those are my favorite kind of theater books, some of them, because again, I could tell you about a bunch more. But I also, my favorite theater person of all time, like we should have been best friends, is Tennessee Williams. Like we were supposed to be friends, and somehow time got warped and we weren't born at the same time, and it just screwed my plans up. But I love Tennessee Williams. I read everything from his plays, which are numerous and they're all amazing, to his one-acts, to his short stories, to his poetry, his as many biographies I can find on him, his letters. Like, you know what, they need a Tennessee Williams museum, or there probably is one. I need to Google that, and I need to be there. But Tennessee Williams, let me see. I will have to save him actually for another day, because he could take up like a whole year's worth of videos. But he's amazing. So that's all I just wanted to tell you. I'm working on a fun show. It's teaching me a lot of things about understanding people when I don't necessarily speak the spoken language. It's bringing up a lot of different cultural differences and similarities. It's stretching me as an artist and as a person, and even the subject matter of the show is dealing with human rights and women rights subtly, but it's really good. So I just wanted to talk about that today. If you do ask, because you probably will, about my hair, this is one of my easy and fun styles. It doesn't really have a name, and I'll have to try to do a tutorial on it soon. Have a good day.